Some people say you can never make money from publishing books, especially self-published books. But we're here to debunk that myth, and that's why I've invited Paul du Toit, who is an author. He is a certified speaking professional and the author of The Exceptional Speaker, a book that I have read on more than one occasion. In fact, Paul has said to me that it's a very well-worn book, and that is absolutely true. And he's going to be chatting to us about self-publishing and having a business plan for your book. So welcome to the show, Paul. Thank you so much for being on the Right Learn and Earn show.
Thank you, Kim. And one quick correction, I'm the co-author of that book.
Yes.
My fellow author is Alan Stevens, who lives in London, UK.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Paul, the big question that people always ask is, can you make money from books? Because most people say it's just going to be an expensive business card. Do you think that that's true?
I think that you can make money from books. The question is how much money, and we're talking now as a self-published author. If you are wanting to make money from books, it's got a lot to do with what your market is. It's got plenty to do with if you are writing something that is aimed towards being a bestseller, or if that book is for a particular niche. Now, I've written 3 books. One of them I would have liked to have been a bestseller, but the other 2, the how-to books, were generally for a very niche audience. Now, this particular one is in South African terms is a bestseller because it's sold over 14,000 copies. But it's also a question of the reason why you are writing the book. And this book in particular, and to a lesser extent, The Exceptional Speaker, was there to help me to give my business credibility. So when I arrive at an interview, somebody that's interested in doing presentation skills, because that's what the book is about, I'm the one person who actually has a book to back up that I'm an expert on the topic.
Excellent. So the other question that I have to ask is, because a lot of people say there's never enough time to actually write the book, but you had quite a unique way that you went about writing the book. How did you do that?
Yeah, so I was clueless when I started off, and that would have been 20 years ago. I had the good fortune of meeting a gentleman from Santa Barbara known as the book guy, Dan Pointer. I met him at a speaking convention in the UK. And Dan gave me some tips on how to get started. So he said, well, do you have any blog articles? And I said, yes, actually I do. He said, what's the topic? So I said, well, it's about presentation skills. He said, well, how many articles do you have? So I said, 14. He said, great, print out your 14 articles and put them in a pile on the floor and start fleshing out those articles until you have natural chapters. And then don't worry about the chapters now or the order of the book. Eventually, when you've got your content all together, you can put them into chapters and you can create a book. And that is really what I did. I wasn't one of those authors that set aside an hour and a half or 2 hours every day to write. I wrote when I had time. So we found ourselves on a holiday in the KZN Midlands when the weather was terrible and we weren't able to go and do the stuff that we wanted to do. So my wife sat with her book and I sat writing my book, and I got a lot of it done under those circumstances when we were on holiday in poor weather. So I wasn't on a mission to finish it. I knew that it would finish itself when it was ready. But what I can say to you is that on each occasion, writing my 3 books have probably given me more pleasure than anything that I can think of. I really just love writing.
And I've read a couple of your articles. They are very inspiring. I have read this book on more than one occasion, and now what I'm doing is I'm dipping into it as I find things that I need to do. Yeah. So if I'm going to go on a Zoom, I'll dip in and see what to do there. I even changed my wardrobe based on this particular book because of the tips that you've given there. It's really, if you're a speaker, and even if the person has a business but they need to present better, this is really an exceptional book to, excuse the pun, exceptional good book to read. But you also have got a course and you build the book into the pricing structure of the course. Explain how you do that.
Okay, so I do that with both of my books, but I think, let's start with this one. We have a 2-day presentation skills course. And when the book was published, I was obviously quite excited. So when we did a quote, we said to them, and for this amount, you can also have the book. And then when it went to the finance department, they crossed the book off, and then they said, oh no, we'll just do the course, which is really short-sighted because they shouldn't have that choice. So we changed the way we did it, and now the book is part of the materials package. So we build the cost into the program, which has helped me to obviously sell more books. And the idea is that any training course is very intense. You're getting bombarded by a lot of information over a 1, 2, or 3 day period of time. So you then go away with the book and you're able to trickle charge all the main points of what you learned by reading it chapter by chapter. And the advice that we give is don't try and polish the thing off in 2 days. Just read a chapter a day. Set aside 20 to 25 minutes, depending on how fast you read, and go through the book gradually with a highlighter pen. And most importantly, put your name in the book so that you're not tempted to lend it out. And if you do, at least they know that they've got your book. And maybe leave your phone number and email address so they can, when they wake up, they can return it to you. Because I've lent books to people and then can't remember who I've lent them to. So that was how we integrated this one into the presentation skills course. And then the exceptional speaker, Alan and myself have run masterclasses in the UK, Netherlands, and also in Joburg and Cape Town. And it is part of what they get. So they come with a pre-prepared 5-minute speech. It is delivered, it is filmed, it's played back. Because I normally have a high level of delegate, or if Alan and I are doing it, the two of us, we get some feedback also from the audience in terms of what they saw. And then we integrate that as part of the program.
I think it's a brilliant idea. And my friend actually had a little stamp made with her name and telephone number that she stamps all of her books in. But the great thing about having it as part of the course is that I've been on one of your courses, and when you go in, you get very excited and you learn new things, but there's that dreaded thing called the forgetting curve. Yeah. And you don't really implement half of the things that you promised yourself you would do, and then you forget about them. So when you do have the book, it actually gives an exceptional value to the delegates because they can refer back. Yeah. You and I just recently attended a convention together, and I ran out of space in my notebook, and I ended up jotting down notes on pieces of paper, and then when I got back I couldn't find half of those pieces of paper. So I'm never going to implement those things, but I know that I've been able to make changes using this book. Now, the one thing that I also wanted to ask you is you got quite a big bulk order for one of your books. Explain how that works, how the profitability works. Was it a good deal for you? Did it help you? Those kinds of ins and outs.
Well, I think that's quite a good question. Everyone has their own model, and more today you have the option of being able to print on demand. Generally, if they are small runs, they're going to cost you a little bit more. And I just simply made the decision up front that I was going to produce a quality book. So what we've done with both of them is that we've done them in hardcover with a dust cover, so they last. And the idea is that this is not a book that you read once and then never refer to again. If you're in fact doing presentations, you're going to be referring back to it. So we want something that is going to last and stand the test of time. I just simply made the decision. I've been to a lot of trouble to produce the book. It's quite expensive to produce a hardcover book on a print-on-demand basis. So I just decided on how much we needed to print. So with the original run of The Exceptional Speaker in 2013, we did 1,500, and Alan and I split them. So 750 went to the UK and 750 came to me. In the case of the revised edition, we knew that some of the people that already had The Exceptional Speaker weren't going to buy it again, so we did a slightly smaller run. But that's worked pretty well for me. What we've done is that we've been patient, not in too much of a hurry. So we got them printed in Mumbai by our publishers Replica Press, who've done all my books. And it's worked out pretty well. I'm lucky in that I have a house where I've got a bit of storage. And if you have somewhere to keep them, and you know that the book has got a fairly long tail that it's going to sell over a period of time, that is a way to do it. But probably for most people, a smaller order and a print on demand would probably suit them better.
Yes. And I think also with self-publishing, there's so many costs that you have got to cover that it is better for authors, new authors, to just start slowly and then build in those bigger print runs. We have an author who said that his wife told him the one day, I want these books out of here, because he had them in the kitchen, in the garage, in every tiny conceivable space in the house. So, you have to be willing to store, but then the pricing is just so much better. Paul, do you have any other books on the table for yourself that you're going to be writing soon?
I haven't planned anything specific. I'm not the kind of author that feels that they have to write a book every year or every 5 years. I do it when there's a reason to do it. But because I like writing so much, I'm pretty sure an idea will come to my head, or someone will suggest that I do something, and then there'll probably be another book or two that comes out in due course. But right at the moment, it's just the 3 books that I've got, the 2 business books, and the humorous one, which I was inspired by my former wife to write this one. And it's about gentlemen surviving women stylishly. So it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek. My wife likes to call it an irreverent book. So it was inspired by my ex-wife, but dedicated to my current wife.
I actually have a copy of that book, and I lent it to my daughter and my son-in-law. And when he looked at the book, he said, Mom, am I in trouble? And I said, no, this book is to make sure that you don't get into trouble.
Well, that is exactly what it is. And in fact, probably the most accurate way to describe it is that it's a toilet book. Because, if you happen to be sitting in the loo and you can really open it anywhere. And just read 2 or 3 pages and then put it down, and then you'd have got some value out of it.
Yes, and without, at the risk of sounding politically incorrect, I know that when there's tension in the house, sometimes the gents like to escape to the bathroom. They can have some quiet time.
Yes, but there's a problem with that, because unless they lock the door, they've usually got their trousers around their ankles, and then they're a sitting duck because they can't move. And that's all in the book.
That's true, it is in the book. Paul, it's been so really exciting having you on the show and to chat. Do you have any advice for someone who is a brand new author who's starting out?
Yeah. So probably the best bit of advice that I've got is that you shouldn't agonize about how to start it. If you're going to agonize about anything, it might be how to finish it. But if you just write, you can reorder your things. And I'm talking specifically about how-to books. It's a little bit different if you're writing a novel. If you're writing a novel, you have to have a very specific plot. You need to know how it's going to run and how the characters are going to come in. But if it is a how-to book like these 2 that I've written, you can just spontaneously put your thoughts down and maybe just pick an area of your topic that you're going to speak about. And I found that just by writing blogs, it was quite easy to amalgamate those blogs into both You Can Present with Confidence and The Exceptional Speaker. And that really worked well for me. So I know people talk about getting writer's block, but I just found I never really got writer's block. I just wrote the stuff that I wanted to write, put it together, discarded that which didn't work. When we did the revised edition of The Exceptional Speaker, we actually took out the stuff that had possibly been a little bit dated, but then added in a whole lot of things that were relevant for now, like specifically remote speaking. So I think have fun writing. It's an incredibly rewarding pastime. But then also remember, your job as a writer is to put your thoughts down on paper. You don't have to edit it as well. You get an editor for that. It's the editor's job to get it all flowing in the right language and to change your syntax and what have you. And if you're putting your apostrophes in the wrong place, the editor should be fixing that. So don't agonize then about the correctness and the perfection of everything. Just put your thoughts down and let your mind run, and you'll find that you'll not only enjoy yourself, but you'll be surprised that eventually the kind of book and the gravitas of the book that you're able to produce.
You're so right, because in my book coaching program, I do find people are agonizing over things. And what I always say to them is, you can always edit rubbish. You can't edit nothing. Yeah. So just get started and hand over the editing to the professionals. Paul, I'd just like to find out if people want to get hold of you, either for a keynote or to participate in your workshops, how would they do that?
Well, it's Paul Dutoit. So it's PAULDUTRIT. And if they put .co.za or .net at the end, they're going to find my website. Our organization is called Congruence, so they can also go to congruence.coza. But we're lucky enough to have secured the website presentationskills.coza, so you can also get hold of me there.
Excellent. I'm going to put all of those links down into the bottom description, and please remember to subscribe to the channel so that you can get notified the next time we have another guest on the show. Thank you so much for watching.